First off, Eli, I'm a huge fan of Tucker and Dale versus Evil. It's one of my
Nice.
favorite films of all time. I have a poster behind the camera on my wall. It's a go-to for me. Yeah, I know that's one that I considered getting. I got Alan and Tyler to sign. It's a little mini poster, but
Awesome.
um, so I saw this film at South by Southwest, and I mean that crowd was just spectacular to be in and witness the movie because
Yeah.
it's such like a blast to watch. And then I got to watch it again last night just to prep for this. And I mean it's one experience in a theater, but it's just as much fun to watch with your like friends at your house, or
Wow.
so I think. I'm a huge fan of the book, and so I was so excited to see this adapted, and I think it's just an excellent job. So wanted to
Thank you
get that
so
out of the
much.
way.
Thank you.
So I was curious, with Tucker and Dale, for instance, there is quite a lot of teenagers, college students getting, it's quite a bloodbath. So
Mm.
I was wondering, like, this one also has a bloodbath. And I was wondering, like, does that kind of element, like, is that what piqued your interest in this kind of material?
No, because there's a lot of films that have that, right? To me, it's
Mhm.
actually the heart and like the storylines in the middle of it that make the film have resonance to me. Like it gives it the soul of the film. And it's to me, it's like the hardest part of filmmaking is to make sure people care, that they care about your lead character, that they care about other people, that they even care about some of the people who die in it.
Yeah.
And so the backdrop of the bloodbath and the gore, I knew I could do. Like that's always the part, like, oh, that's going to be really fun. And I just love, God, what I just love spraying blood on people. It's just a good time. But then to make a film that I want to see, or I want people to be able to watch over and over, it has to leave people with a sense of like joy and levity and like, God, I love those characters.
Yeah.
So that's the most important part to me.
Gotcha. And just speaking of the kills, like there's many standout kills in this film. For me, the pitchfork one, that one caught me off guard. I was just wondering, do
Cool.
you have a particular kill that like you think's your favorite of Frendo's murder rampage?
They all have a special place in my heart. These kills are all like your children, you love them
Yeah.
in different ways. But I do love the one you're talking about, particularly the way it ends. I guess I won't do any spoilers, but I
Yeah.
also love the sort of big boss kill, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that one was just the way we did it was so in camera. And it was like we needed some smoke, for instance, and instead of using CG smoke or something, we used Will Sasso was using a vape and like
Wow.
exhaling like smoke as this lighted tool goes into his mouth. And it was very special effects and like in-camera stuff that we were figuring out how to do. And that I love.
Well, that actually goes into my next question because I was curious. It looks like most of it, if not all of it, was practical.
Yeah.
Like, how difficult is it to? I imagine like Tucker and Dale as well was a majority of it was practical. How difficult is it to like set up that kind of like uh, those kind of kills? Like, is it a lot of planning that goes into each and every one?
Well, yeah, and a lot of times people just want to say, "Oh, we'll do it in post." And there are a lot of horror films nowadays, they'll just wait for the VFX guys to take care of it. And I love just the authenticity of the practical effects and the randomality to it. You don't know exactly how things are going to land.
Yeah.
There's a thing called a blood cannon that we have to
Oh,
splatter bloods on things. You need to get a blood cannon, buddy.
all right.
But
It might cause a mess. So I don't
It
know.
does, believe me. But you don't know exactly what level it's going to do. And so even from the actor's reaction point of view, it just becomes a more like authentic experience for the actor. They're getting
Yeah.
blasted by something and it might go in their eyes and they're screaming and yeah, I always prefer that. And even if there's a little bit of VFX, it's just like a touch-up thing on something that's already practical.
And then as a writer on this project, which I do apologize, you co-wrote this. I can't remember
Yeah.
your co-writer's name.
His name is Carter Blanchard.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you go into a project like this, and because in my opinion, as a huge fan of the book, like it's a very loyal adaptation. Like there's like a little less of the kills, but it's still just as electric to watch on screen. And I'm just wondering, like when you're going through the book and you're writing a screenplay based on it, like how do you decide like what should be cut? Like, because I imagine that can be so difficult. Was
It
Adam
is.
involved in that process when you were writing?
No, no, at that point you kind of have to make a decision as a director, and
Okay.
you got to see what you can do and what you can fit in. Believe me, like I wanted it to be, you want it to be more and more and more, and then you got to figure out what are the best kills, what are the most like cinematic ones, and you focus on that. And then I'd rather have like a really good kill. I'd rather have
Yeah.
one in a moment than two like so. And so
Yeah.
I really try to focus. And uh so there's a lot. I mean, there's like 17, 18 people die in this movie,
Yeah.
so there's a lot for a movie.
Yeah.
I didn't burn down the barn full of kids because that just felt a little too dark to me to burn down like 50 kids.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit this film is slightly lighter and sort of more joyful in a way than the book goes even darker. But I like that. And I like that you could go back to the book now and read it and get a little more detail on the characters and stuff.
And then I'll finish off with two questions. One is more personal, but I'm curious, like when you went to design this mask and the costume, like how like do you have any inspirations that went into like Frendo's design?
Yeah, I mean, we were looking a lot at like 1930s clowns in America. There's some old pictures of like Boris Karloff playing clowns and Lon Chaney. And they always had this like goofy kind of pork pie hat off to the side and the painted faces. But then I thought there was that hopeful the sort of 1940s clown that was trying to sell stuff to kids, like Crinkles the Clown or something, or
Yeah.
Ronald McDonald, and that hopeful sort of American dream clown has gotten distorted by time. Like his face sat too close to a radiator, and the American dream has gotten warped, and his face just slightly looks more demented.
It was scary watching him walk around the crowd at South by Southwest. So.
Yeah, there's something menacing about him for sure.
And then the personal question is, as I've mentioned a few times during this, as a huge fan of Tucker and Dale, is there any chance of those characters ever coming back to into our lives?
There's always a chance. Like I like to say, I mean, this is the truth. Tucker and Dale 2 has been killed more times than college kids in Tucker and Dale 1.
Wow.
So we have had, I don't want to play with fans' emotions and
Yeah.
announce anything before it happens. I know it happened once when it looked like we were going to go with the film and it got killed. Making films is hard. You got to get a lot of money. And a lot of people didn't go see that one in the theaters and they saw it much later. So it's tough sometimes to get. I don't want it to be smaller. I want it to be bigger.
Yeah.
I want more money than my original movie. So unless I could get a studio or like somebody behind me or a studio that says, "Yeah, we want to give you the money to make the film you want to make," I don't
Yeah.
want to do a movie that's not as good. So
No,
that's where I stand, and I'm always ready to do Tucker and Dale 2. It might be the last film I do. And if I'm 80 years old and I'm on a walking stick and all the Tucker and Dale are that old too, then we'll go make it.
well, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Eli.
Thank you, Connor.